be on the Facebook page. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, whoever you are. Welcome to the Divine CEO Show. I'm Laura Topper, and I'm here with Tisha Marie Cain. Tisha, it's so great to be here with you today.
Oh, Laura, thank you for having me. I'm so blessed to be on this Divine CEO with you. Like, this is a blessing in disguise.
For both of us and for the viewers watching as well, I know this is going to be an amazing conversation because I love your work. I love what you're doing. You've just written in the magazine, and your story and your mission and intention and your vision for women, for everyone that you work with, is so powerful. So thank you for being here and taking the time to be here on the show today.
You're so welcome. It's so amazing to be here. So thank you.
I'm going to hop straight in. I'm going into your bio. You've written, your website is beautiful, and your images are just great, and the coloring, the whole thing is really just so beautiful. And I like to read a little bit. You've written it in the I, but I'm going to just shift that. Tisha has learned how corporations like Family Court force people to live in poverty and to fight to keep family together. And Tisha, you say here you didn't trust corrupt organizations to carry out justice, and you realized that the remedy was inside of you, not outside of the courts. This is for an experience that you were going through in your life and on your journey. And you went from a six-figure income to no income. And you learn so much about life and happiness and love on this journey. And you've put your intentions out into the universe with total trust, and the universe delivers every single time. And you say here, these days, I don't worry about my income because I know I can survive on my outcome. I love that. And you can too. The moment that we are in love with ourselves and in love with life, we see that we magnetize that as an equal. And you help people to really build and create the most amazing lives for themselves as a coach and a teacher and a trainer. And also, you are a lawyer, aren't you? You are a family lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Private counsel.
Yeah. So share a little bit about this, because for me, I know your story. We've had a deep conversation, a couple of months ago, and I know what you're doing. For anyone here that's watching, if you don't know Tisha and what she's doing, I'd love you, Tisha, to just share from your perspective.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really interesting how that you reading back my bio had put me in my feels, because I know my story, but to have someone else read it to me, I was like, wow, like, whew. So thank you for that. That was the first time. And it just kind of reiterates that, when your whole life is burning down, you have a choice to either burn down with it or stand in the fire and become the flame, right?
Yeah.
And so everyone has their story on how, if they go to law school, I'm here in the States, I'm here in California, why they go to law school. And, my parents always said that I was a great arguer. So I could argue really well. And I never thought about going to law school until I was going through the family court. This was about 8 years ago. And the story is in wide and deep, and not to bore your listeners. But I believe that our mess becomes our message. And I knew I had to figure out what this American justice system was doing to me, because I had 4 kids, three fathers, and one judge ordered supervised visits with 2 kids, shared custody with 1 child, and full legal custody of my last baby. And it was wonky and weird. And I was like, okay, I don't really comprehend what's happening to me. And the judge I'm like, either I'm a good mom or I'm a bad mom, but get to figure that out.
Right.
So I had 3 orders, forced into supervised visits with my older children, and then shared custody 50-50, and then full legal custody of my baby. And I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to figure this out. And I'm like, am I smart enough to go to law school? Can I do this? And so here in the state,
Wow.
we had to, there's a huge test you have to take to even, first of all, you have to have your bachelor's. And I had 17 years of college. So, I mean, I was like, okay, cool. I made that matrix, right? And metrics. And then you had to take this LSAT, and they say you have to study like 6 months to even pass the LSAT to be accepted into law school. So life got in the way, and I was going to court all the time. And, they say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, right? And
Right.
I'm like, there's nothing, and Laura, you have children. There's nothing us mommies and then even fathers, I fight for fathers too, that, when your child is ripped away from you without the comprehension as to why,
Right.
saying, what you won't do. I went to the depths of the earth for these children. And I still do, I never gave up. And that's why, my book is out, and I wrote in your magazine, and I knew when my book came out to tell my story on how things were wonky in the American justice system. Thank you so much. I hit the floor, and I just cried, because it was like this full circle on how my voice, they tried to take my voice away from me in family court and shun me. And not only was I drugged through the family court, they brought up criminal charges on me, and I was facing 14 years in prison for something I didn't do. So I was drugged through the family court, and then now through criminal court. And I had 283 hearings in 6 years. It was a lot.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to law school. And I went to law school, and not only was I at the top of my class, my professors would write, you remain at the top of not that I was at, but I remained there. So it was really easy. And for me, it was easy because I believe that there's 2 schools of thought. There's a school of legal, and then there's a school of lawful. And there's these fake government laws that are by man, and the lawful laws are from God. And whatever God means to you, higher power, source, one, the most high. I had my spiritual awakening right through law school, and God just opened up my brain and said, oh, okay, you want to learn about laws? Let's go. And so I was reading legal with my cohorts, and then simultaneously I was reading lawful. And I had to get through the legal stuff, and I prayed. I said, God, I just need to have a photographic memory, because the legal stuff is not resonating with me. And the lawful stuff, the Bible laws, the lawful that comes from God, was like reverberating within my body. And I had to learn those. So my cohorts were just studying here, but I was simultaneously, I remember a time I was reading 14 books at one time. And I would jump from one chapter on this book to another chapter on this book, and I would get a photographic memory. And my husband would say, I don't know how you're doing this. And I said, I don't know how I'm doing this either, but I just thank you, God, like that I'm able to keep track of all of this.
It's amazing. I'm listening to. I don't want to interject because I know this is. I'm keeping quiet. Carry on.
It's great. It's great because I don't know where to go. But so I went on to graduate from law school, and my passion is teaching women how to navigate the American justice system, or all courts. And my little slogan is I help you win in court and win in life. And a lot of times,
that's not a little slogan, by the way. That's huge. I'm going to write this down while you're talking, because I love it.
So a lot of times, especially here in America, and I know you're over in the UK, Laura, and I'm going to come visit you one of these days, by the way. especially here in America, my belief system is that these systems rape and pillage the American people. And so I seek to help alleviate suffering. And I want to teach people how once my mind opened up and I was able, God gave me eyes to see and ears to hear, I was able to like see it all. And I thought, oh, wow. So then I became very cognizant of the language that I was using. Right. And so a lot of us who are victims of domestic violence, we play these stories in our heads over and over again. And my therapist was keeping me looking in the rearview mirror. And I needed to be looking out the windshield. And then I was like, okay, I can no longer sit in this victim mentality. And then I shifted my language to, hey, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I'm a survivor. Right. Until that became like, I don't want to even say that anymore, right? That story is so old and I needed to get rid of that story. And then my story becomes, okay, I don't even talk about that. It doesn't even matter because now I'm of the belief system that I created all that garbage in my past. I created it for one thing. And the one thing is the reason why Miss Tisha Marie Cain came to planet Earth is to learn about radical forgiveness. And so God said, I think it was Solomon that said, and I don't know, your readers could probably tell me more, but he goes to Jesus and says, I have forgiven them 7 times. How much more do I need to forgive them? And he said 7,000 times, right? Yeah. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is where it gets to be exquisite because I'm learning to let them. And I think that's going to be my new tattoo is let them. You get to be who you are. And you know what? I will always take that high road. I will always fight for my truth. I don't need to smear my truth on you, right? But I have my truth and I really respect your truth. And I can't wait. Or I'm not using can't wait because your subconscious hears just wait.
But it hasn't happened. Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking forward to the time that all 4 of my children are sitting at my supper table. And I see it and I get emotional because I already see these littles that I birthed into this world and they're all going to have their truth. And I already see how beautiful this is. And I'm so looking forward to the day that all 4 of my children are back home again and I get to cook for them and bake for them. And it's just one meal. I see it. And that's where we're moving towards. And I just can't, or I can see what it looks like. So yeah. So what are your questions? I don't know. There's a lot. It's heavy and it's a lot. And I'm so honored to be here.
You know what? I'm like, this is a movie. First of all, I want to thank you for your authenticity and your willingness to be here today and to share in this way, because I know that when we share and your sharing is something that's going to be out here on video for forever, really. And so on many levels, this is such a vulnerable sharing. And there are so many teaching moments in your sharing. I think the whole thing could be unpacked as a masterclass for us all, Prince is here. Prince, he's loving you, loving how you're catching yourself on language, and what an awesome perspective. Welcome here, Prince. It's really great to be here with you. And Tisha, I'm just amazed. No, I'm not amazed. That's the wrong word. I'm in awe of you and your tenacity and your resilience through all that heartache and hardship and brokenheartedness, to have found, like, really dug deep within yourself and said, I am going to do something about this, not only for me, but it's going to help other people as well with their experiences of going through the judicial system. And obviously it's different there in America than it is here in the UK. However, I can't even imagine what a rabbit hole the whole thing must be. So for you to be sitting there with 14 books and turn to the law, the spiritual law, for me, it's like, do you feel, my question, I suppose, with this, do you feel that because you surrendered, and this letting go that was a process of yielding. The more you were doing that, the more you're being supported by the divine to have
Yeah.
that strength and resilience to continue. Because reading 14 books at one time, that's not just light reading.
Right.
That's
And
not bedtime reading, is it? It's
no,
like, no.
no. And the books were very, very dense, right? This
Yeah,
is dense language I didn't know, language I had to look up. And that's what they taught us in law school. If you don't know what a subpoena is or a demur or, things like that, that you would strategically have your law book out and your dictionary, and then you
right.
need to reference those. So it was very, very dense. And to answer your question, yeah, it was this deepening in with my relationship with source. And just, when I could no longer walk, I had to kneel. And I'm like, I
Mm.
don't comprehend what is happening. I just kneeled and I said, God, I don't know why my babies have been ripped out of my arms. I don't know, but I'm just leaning in, and I have to trust you. And honestly, this trust piece keeps coming up. Like, it's like I keep getting and just a couple days ago, I just keep getting tested. How deeply are you going to trust? And I'm like, ooh. And I have to lean in and say, okay, let's just pull everything off. Let's go. And it's like I'm playing with it a little bit.
Yeah, because it's almost like the greater the mission, the greater the challenge is going to be, the steeper the mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Of a test almost of our tenacity and our willingness to, is this what we really want? Is this what you really want, Tisha? Is this what you really want to go through all of this? And so there's a proving in all of this, isn't there? For our own, for your own character,
Yeah.
that you can then say, I've done this. And so there is that cliched kind of, if I can do it, you can do it.
Right.
However, you're saying I've done it. And so you're showing others that you're trailblazing.
Yeah.
You're
And
trailblazing.
my best client is that 22-year-old, right, who just graduated from college or just getting ready to graduate from college, that doesn't have a line of sight, who has, starting to learn their own footing outside of their parents, outside of college, which is another indoctrination system here in the States. And give me that kid, I say a kid because I'm 40 something years old, right? And let me show you that this is all a made up reality. I was
Yes.
facing 14 years in prison. And I believe, Laura, that the reason why I prevailed over that criminal case is God taught me about quantum physics. I
Right.
was able to collapse the timelines on that case and bring up the feeling over and over and over and over again, and the potency of winning. And
Yes.
I would go in there and I'm like, I would show up, my energy would be so big. Well, of course, my cohorts, the district attorney who was prosecuting me, they'd show up in all black, right? And I didn't know, I didn't have the knowing back then, but I had the feeling like, oh, they're showing up in all black, I'm going to show up in white.
Right.
So I came in and shining this big light, just asking questions. And
Yes.
they started closing down the court doors. Like, they would strategically put me at the end of the calendar day because they didn't want the public knowing what I was doing, because I was operating in the private. So they would close the doors and have closed hearings with me because they didn't want people knowing what I was doing. And I was in the public, but I was working in the private, and the judge knew what I was doing.
Right.
So it was interesting
Wow.
to find my footing in that and prevail. So I knew I wasn't going to spend a single
And
day. It was a knowing. I knew I wasn't going to spend a single day behind bars. One, because I didn't do the crime. And two, there was no way. There was no way, with the knowledge that I knew, and I would kind of threaten the district attorney. And I said, hey, and that case went on for 3.5 years. I had a criminal case for 3.5 years. And you know what the family court did? They said, oh, it looks like you have a criminal case out here, so we're not going to give you back your children until the criminal case shores up.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, so the family court is treating me as I'm guilty until proven innocent, and the criminal court is treating me like I'm innocent until proven guilty. And we have two schools of thought, a family court and the criminal court, but they're not matching up. Right.
So you were in law school at this time while this was going on, and were you representing yourself in
Uh-huh.
court?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Wow.
interesting enough, I spent $25,000 to hire a defense attorney. And here's what I need to tell you. The prosecutor on the case, who do they work for? Do you know?
The prosecutor works for the people that are guilty?
No, the prosecutor, so the DA, the prosecutor, they work for like the state of California.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who does the judge work for?
The state.
Thank you. Thank
Not
you.
for the person. Yeah.
Thank you. And then, so my public defender, who do they work for?
You? No, the person that's making the case.
You would think that my public defender would work for me, but they have taken an oath to defend and support the Constitution of the United States. So they work for the state as well.
So everyone works for the state.
So the cards are stacked up against you in criminal court the moment you walk in. So I knew I had to fire my attorney.
Right.
And I went on, and it was interesting because what they did is I lay this all out because I don't care, because my truth is my truth and I have nothing to hide, right? I laid this all out. I fired my attorney and they threw me into a mental competency exam and said that I could be mentally ill. And I thought, okay. And I can show you right now that my professors in law school who are judges just wrote on my exam that I remain at the top of my law school cohort. And you're going to throw me into a mental competency exam? Let's go. So it became this game inside of me. And my husband is a retired correctional officer. And he said, you know, I know you believe it's a game, but I need you to be very careful because Laura, people get assassinated for this. People get thrown in bars. There's so many people. We need criminal law reform here in the States, probably all over the world. There's so many people behind bars that never did it. They were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So I love those people because everyone's innocent, like I want to help. I know you're in here, over something stupid, so yeah. So it lights me up to realize that it's a game. What are you here to learn? And then once I said, okay, I'm tired. I looked at my husband. I said, today, and it was May 6th, 2021. I looked at my husband, pointed him in the eye. I said, this criminal case is over today. And he goes, yeah. I said, it's over. This is the last year. I'm never going back in. And I went in and had a conversation with my forced counsel at this time. They forced an attorney back on me. And I'm like, oh no, I don't need this. But, and everything went away that day. But I realized, oh, I like to argue. The more I argue, I'm going to keep this case open and it's going to count. Right. So stop arguing, surrender.
Yes.
Get out of there. And I did. And then after that, it was just like, whew, right. I had to tell the people, like, stop. So my ears are attuned to, like, if someone comes to me from the family court, like I could see in what phase of their journey they are in.
Well, that's because also you were in education with this. So you understood the system.
Yes.
And so you had that extra sensory perception
for
everybody in the room.
I'm going to write that down. That's good. Yeah. I did have that extra sensory perception. Yeah. So then so now I go on and help these people who are in the family law mostly. And then I just pull them into my coaching space and say, grab them. Let me teach you. Let me show you. It's a made up reality. You can get out of this, but you have to go within. Shush, quiet. Yeah. Right. Because they tried to keep me quiet for so long that my throat chakra was blown wide open. Right. I mean, there was nothing. I put billboards up in this community. I was hosting peaceful sit-ins, protests. I mean, I'm a pillar in this community, but now I had to reframe it like, okay, the more you like agitate the dark.
Yeah.
Right? So we just have to leave it.
Yeah, because if what we put energy into expands.
Yes.
Yes.
So once I
Where
turned my
you
back
put
on
your
it.
attention to something completely different. Yeah.
Yes, and that's when I shut down the criminal case, I shut down the family court case. I knew that the family judge wasn't gonna give me back my kids. And so, like, they just wanna keep that accounting. So I really had to sit with I had to get quiet at this time, right? So
Yeah.
now that they tried to take my voice, now that my voice was wide open, then I had to go back in full circle. Okay, get quiet. Go within. I had to go to Minnesota, which is all woods. I sat with the wisdom of the trees, and I had to make a decision. And then this was one of the hardest decisions of my life. Do I continue to fight in the American justice system and family court, knowing that the judge is not going to give me my kids back? And I became a battery source for these systems. Every time I filed a document, I kept them
Kept it going.
employed.
So you were keeping the whole game going, really.
Yes. And
But you
that's
know what? There's a part of me that feels like, okay, so you were keeping the going, but this wasn't a game, was it? Okay, yes, we're in a game. We're in a matrix. We're in a version of a matrix. And yet this was a situation that you were experiencing that was heartbreaking. And so that, I'm sure that decision, or I'm sure for me, that decision would have been like, okay, Laura, I've got to shut up, but I don't want to because it's so painful. And, women over centuries have been told to shut up. We've been burned at the stake, men and also, witches, priestesses. We've all been told to stop talking, to be quiet, to shut up when we know the truth. And so that must have been a really difficult decision for you. That's not just an easy decision, is it? To not, when you know in your heart, this is why you're here, why you're doing this, why you're in court.
Laura, thank you for seeing that. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just glaze over that. And thank you for seeing me, because
Yeah.
it was really, really hard. It was
really hard, because you then were faced with, if I'm quiet, I might really lose everything. I might really lose myself in all of this, and my children as well. So that was so courageous of you.
Yeah.
So courageous.
And what helped me through the process, one, was praying. And then two, knowing that my little children have their own soul contract here on planet Earth too.
This is the other thing, isn't it? Well, it's the thing, not the other thing. It's yes.
And I'm like, if they're anything like their mother, they're a fighter, right? So I prayed for the rebellion. I prayed for, like, get your rebellion. Like, I want to see my mom, right?
Yeah.
And two of my kids, the two oldest, they live 2 miles away. They live 2 miles away, and I had a restraining order on me. I couldn't see them, couldn't talk to them. I don't know how their grades are. I haven't seen them in 8 years, and they still live 2 miles away. So it's just like my son just turned 18, and I just pray that, he's got his own little truths too, but it's just realizing, okay, these guys got soul contracts too, for whatever reason. I raised them until they were 10 and 8 and 7. And then my 9-year-old now, he's been with me 100% of the time for 9 years. It's just like, so thank you for seeing me, and thank you for realizing how difficult that decision. Do I go in and keep the source open? Or do I shut it down now and just let the children, because I take some responsibility in this too. I was legally abusing my ex-husband and my 2 ex-boyfriends. I was legally abusing them because I had pure economic loss. So I could file the court documents and not have to pay the court fees because I was unemployed. But they had to lawyer up. They spent over $200,000 fighting to keep my kids away from me. And we all know grumpy little teenagers. So now they're teenagers and dad has to raise them by themselves. I'm like, good luck.
So, and I'd really appreciate if you would mind for a minute or so talking about guilt.
Oh, yeah.
And not necessarily, because obviously your experience, for viewers watching here that might be going through a similar, or you might be showing this video to some clients, because this is your story and it's really powerful. And I think guilt it runs through us as mothers in whatever capacity, whatever our family structure looks like. There's guilt laden in, and there's ancestral guilt, and there are limiting beliefs or beliefs about we should be better, or we should have achieved this, or be the perfect mother, or all of that. I'd really appreciate you talking on this for
Yes,
viewers,
absolutely.
because you've overcome that, and and that's a powerful thing to overcome.
Luckily, for guilt, yes, there's that underlining. I felt guilty in the fetal stages of this. I felt guilty, like how could I can't protect my children, like there was oh, thank you, Prince.
Yeah, he's gorgeous.
Yeah. The fetal stages of this, there was some, I felt guilty because I was working 70 hours a week. And, my kids had to go to, latchkey kids, and they had to go to, before school program and after school program. And I felt guilty for working too much. And so then what I do on the weekends, and this is what I write about, is, I was climbing the corporate ladder, and I had the money. So on the weekends, we would live it up. We would go to the beach and spend the night, and they would get all the souvenirs. But it was that I would, pay whatever they wanted because I felt guilty for working too much. Right. And then when they got ripped out of me, I just my mother had embedded in me, there's no guilt or shame in this family. So subconsciously, she said, oh, no, there's no guilt. We have no guilt or shame. So I would say that, no, I've done everything.
Yeah.
I'd done everything that I was only doing the best I could with what I knew. So I shook out guilt and shame initially. First off, I just shook that out because I called in what my mother had subconsciously put me. But for me, it was the sadness that, the 6 major emotions: anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was the sadness of birthing these children, nursing them for I nursed all of my children for 18 months. They were part of me.
Yeah.
They didn't even eat food from a jar, right? I would get
same.
Right. Yeah. I would get the avocado.
Yeah.
Match it up. I had all my prenatal vitamin, all the things that us mothers do when we're growing a little baby. Right. And then, so now to have them what? I can't even see them. I don't even know what they're doing. I don't know if they had a good night's sleep. I don't know. And so the sadness was what, I had to work through. And Laura, and just like all of us, whatever flavor that you like, I had a strong hold on sadness. Sadness was my flavor, right? Mm-hmm. And whether shame or guilt is your flavor, I knew sadness. Sadness was a familiar friend. And so what I do in my coaching space is I do this hypnotic technique called emotional change technique. And it's kind of like, you ever see that movie Inside Out by Disney?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, the ball, the gestalt, right? You go and you're 5 and you're angry, and then you're 6 and you're angry, and you have the balls on the gestalt. Well, what I do in this hypnosis, because I'm a clinical hypnotherapist now, I go and I just cut this off, and all the balls fall on the ground. You can still see them, but they're not charged.
That's so powerful.
Oh, it's so powerful. And what's so amazing about this, Laura, is one and done. I can neutralize shame and guilt in one session. So it's not
it's amazing
talk therapy where they keep you talking about
and rehashing.
But this one hypnosis session, which is 90 minutes, and I can do this via Zoom or in my office downtown, 90 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh. And the common theme, thank you so much. The common theme is once they neutralize these 6 major emotions, they get up from my chaise lounge and they're like, "Oh, wow, I feel taller. I feel lighter. I feel empty. Now I can throw some stuff in my vessel and start creating." And I've had clients go on to start being published artists, right? They're so into their artistry now, or they're so like I'm coaching an NBA basketball star right now on mindset, right? So
Yes.
I'm coaching athletes on how to change, because they've solved the problems of the body, but they haven't solved the problems of the mind. So come see
Yes.
Miss Tisha Marie Cain, right? So this is so exciting because I know in the past that sadness had a stronghold on me, or rather, I had a stronghold on
On
sadness.
sadness. Yes.
Mhm. And so
Yes.
whatever your flavor is, if you got guilt hanging out there, if you've got shame, a big one that's coming up right now in the last couple of weeks is not good enough, right? People don't feel good enough. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I shake them, if you could just see yourself through my eyes, you're
Yeah.
23 years old. I'll switch places with you. I want my same consciousness, but I'll
Yeah.
switch places with you right now. You
I
know?
love that.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Right. Yeah. So just showing everybody that you can create this. Let's get rid of these limiting beliefs, and hypnosis is the key. I really believe that hypnosis is where it's at, because it's the same technique that I learned with Elizabeth Ann Walker over in Australia. I flew out to Australia for a month, and
Did you?
I did. And I'm like, because she used this technique on me. And in that one session, my husband said, "Wow, I've got an upgraded wife."
Wow.
And I'm like,
Did
ooh,
you
so
did he
I
have it so you could have an upgraded husband as well?
actually,
That's
he
what I
does.
wanna know.
Believe this or not, which you will believe it, because I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, I also do weight release. So so I did a hypnosis session on my husband. He has released 90 pounds.
Oh, congratulations, husband. What's your husband's name?
Gregory.
Gregory. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
amazing because we hold on through fear, don't we? And
Mm.
just, that creating that container around ourselves. And so that's brilliant that he's
Well,
done
and I
that.
don't look at anyone these days with like those who are carrying extra weight. There's no judgment. All it is information. Get
Yes.
rid of the information and the weight releases. It's just you're holding on. Get
To
rid of it.
an old thought process. That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love what you do. And we were talking about this before we came online about how you show up on Instagram and you actually declare what it is that you're intending to manifest and
Mm.
bring through for your life. And you make it very public and you make it very kind of like, this is what's going to happen in 3 months' time. Let's see. But I'm telling you it's going to happen. And it happens. It happens. And I think this is really powerful because, as I've shared with you, we need to hear inspirational stories. We need to hear what's possible. We need to hear it from others so that we have a new mental equivalent, because it's very easy to get stuck in our own story of what's possible, isn't it?
Oh
So I
my
want to thank
goodness.
you for doing that, because
Oh,
it's like, yeah, you're showing me and everyone else.
well,
Okay,
thank
cool.
you again for seeing me. I think that's one of the biggest needs is we don't feel seen. So thank you, Laura, for letting me be here on this beautiful podcast and seeing me. Because and
Yeah.
we talked about it too, is like some people think, oh, she's just bragging. But the reality is I know the collective. I know whatever we put out there. So I just declare these things. And
Yes.
then, and you can see on my Instagram where I
Mm.
wanted recently so I'm like, okay, if I'm going to be a published author, which I am, I want a Mont Blanc pen, which is a $1,400 pen. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But what I did is I said, you know what? I declare that I'm going to be a published author. And not only am I going to be a published author, I declare that I deserve this $1,400 pen. I deserve to write with the best utensils that I could afford for me. And
Yes.
so I deserve that. And I don't know how I'm going to get this. And that's a lot of money. But right now I'm putting it out on Instagram. You just watch.
You are. That's what you're doing. It's like,
And then
you
it
just watch.
happens. And then it happens. I'm like, There's before I would say, I just can't believe this is happening. Now, because I'm a master magician in my life, I'm orchestrating all of this. You know what I say? It just makes sense.
It just makes sense because if it's seeded in our hearts, it's there for us to. Otherwise, why would it be seeded in our hearts?
Right?
So we keep ourselves away. We keep ourselves separate. We think we're separate from
Right.
everything, and we're not, are we?
No.
I want to ask you about when you said when you were, because I know we may not have too much longer left, but when you just share a little bit about when you were going through your journey in the whole process of becoming a lawyer and in the courts as well, and then releasing that, and then having this epiphany and spiritual awakening. Do you believe that this awakening is, well, it's obviously supporting your whole life right now, but how can you see that because of it, that you are operating in a different way than before it?
Yes. So in the past, there was tons of friction, right? I was constantly grinding, pushing. Now I'm in the flow and I'm
Right.
so intuitive
Yes.
in that I just, I these days I don't even make dinner reservations because that's too like, ugh. If I have to show up on a specific time, we're not
Yeah.
doing that. And so, just being in the flow, intuitively watching how and I played this out. We went to the beach this weekend and we stopped off because we were all getting hungry and we stopped off and I said, I don't know, we can look on we can Google it and see what best restaurants are in town. I said, but you know what? I just want to be off our devices and just really spend family time. I said, let's take a moment. We walked across the street. I said, let's just watch the people.
Yeah.
So we just sit there on the curb and we watch the people, and all the people were walking north. And I said, let's just walk north with the people. And my husband and son, they're so amazing because they just let me be in the flow and they're so great. So we started walking north and we found this amazing pizza parlor that had been there for 30 years. It was a staple in the community. And we went in there and got slices of pizza that was like the best pizza in American history, as far as I'm concerned. So we got to eat our piece and we were done. And then we turned around, and right as we turned around, there was a theater. And my little son said, can we go to the movies? I'm like, absolutely. So we bought a ticket. We walked in and we saw the new movie Beetlejuice. It was 5:20 and the movie started at 5:20. And I looked at my husband and I looked at I said, we are so in the flow that
Yes.
of course, this just makes sense. So can we continue to, and my 9-year-old, he's been here several times before, but he likes friction. He likes to go against the grain, which I wonder where he got that from. So I'm teaching him, if we could just be in the flow and just allowing and surrender in to whatever presents itself. When you said, do you want to be on this podcast? I said, oh yes. Like, because you showed up in my reality, right? I
Yeah.
remember when your magazine and I went out searching, I'm like, I need to know who Laura Topper is. This woman is amazing. Like she's doing
Oh,
some amazing things. I need to know this lady. I need to talk to her. And you kept showing up in my reality. I'm like, okay, I'm in the flow. I need to talk to this lady. Right.
right.
And so just surrendering into why I felt this pull towards you was so gorgeous. And look at us now.
And look at us now. I'm just so absolutely thrilled that you followed that. And I live like that too. And it's a training, isn't it, for our minds to live like that, because it can be so easy to want to, especially with what's on social media and what we're bombarded with all the time, as got to be more, do more, have more, do it
Yeah.
faster, do it quicker.
You live like that too? Are you in the flow like that too?
Oh yeah, I'm totally like, I'm a human design projector. Do you know about human design? It's a system, energy system. I'm a projector, so I wait for the invitation. That's it. Because otherwise, I'm creating resistance when things don't turn out the way I think they should turn out. So I very much live in that kind of way of, okay, I'm following my intuition, my instinct, my guidance, my heart.
Well, here's the
And
invitation. If you're ever coming to California, you can stay with me for a few
oh,
days.
I love you. Yes, that would be amazing.
So get your trip to California and you can come and stay
Yeah.
here and I can show you. We're like an hour from Half Dome Yosemite, an hour from San Francisco. So we're right in the middle of
Oh, how
California. So we
beautiful.
could do all things. So here's the invitation. You don't have to wait any longer. You're welcome.
Oh,
Get your
thank you,
ticket and get
Tisha.
over here. I would love to show you around.
That would be beautiful. Thank you. I'm holding that in my heart.
And I just put that in your reality. So
You did.
you get to do whatever you want to do with that.
I know.
So it's so
And isn't that the
good.
great thing, that we have these choices and we can choose, we can set intention and state how we want our lives to be. And I see you as doing that. And I think, wow, what a role model for all of us, and the journey you've been on, and the ongoing journey that you are going, you're journeying in your heart every day with you and your children, and knowing, it's that knowing that we're one. And even though your children and you may not be in the same physical space time reality right now, that what is the thing that keeps you going with all of this?
Yeah, well, I believe that coaches need coaches. So I'm going to have to hire a coach to do some dream extractions, because the reality is everything that I dreamt has come to fruition. Everything. So all I have to do is put it on the little list and I get to check it off. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, this is getting boring, because every time I put it on the list, I do it. Right? So, but I'm like, okay, I need to hire someone to do something. What more do I want to do now? I don't really know.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I have to tell you this quick little thing. So we've been trying to get to Germany for about 4 years now. And coming back from the beach, we were so in the flow. And I got on to the American Airlines, or no, I think it was Air France or something. And I said, what's the investment to even get the three of us over to Germany, to France? We're going to fly into Toulouse, France. And the tickets were $534. And I thought, like that, this was one way. This was just, this was Sunday night. So what are we now? Tuesday? Sunday night.
Yeah.
I said, you know what, God, we've been needing to go to Germany forever. I'm an international life coach. I have clients in Munich. I have clients in Spain, Chile, Guadalajara, Canada, Australia. I want to go to Germany. I want to do a book signing in Germany. I want to take my book on tour. And I just thank God that the German people, the French people, and I'm stopping in London, they just need my energy over there, God. And however this is going to work out, this is going to work out. I said, but 500 and I think 34 or whatever dollars it was to get us there was cheap enough. And I told my husband, I said, I'm going to pull the trigger on this. He said, really? I said, here's the thing. I don't have the investment to get us home. I have the investment to get us there. And I know that I have been called to deepen in my relationship with divine, to deepen in and surrender, that if life is happening for me, then I'm just going to buy the ticket. And this is what I tell my clients. So now I'm like preaching what I'm saying, right? Just buy the dang ticket. Buy the ticket. If anybody watching, buy the ticket. Buy the one-way ticket. So I bought the one-way ticket for me and my husband for 3 weeks, when we're going in 3 weeks. Who gets to do that? Like, this is such a beautiful life, right? So we're going in 3 weeks. I buy the ticket. So now, because your millions are happening up here, you have to raise your vibrations to get your millions. So now I'm so excited that we have tickets to Germany. I don't know how we're getting home, but we're going, right?
And it's that piece of not knowing and not having to know how it happens. Right. You will come home. You're going and you're going to come back safely, and you're going to have so much fun.
Well, that was Sunday night. By last night, which was 24 hours, I had doubled my income just because my vibration was so high of being so excited that we're going to Germany, that I had 7 clients drop in yesterday who
Oh
fully
my
paid.
gosh. This is I hope you're going on Instagram with this.
I am. After this, I just
Yes.
haven't had, I was so tired that I did the math, right? Because you can't manage what you don't measure.
No.
So I did the
That's
math real quick,
amazing.
and I looked at my husband. My husband said, "People wouldn't even believe you if you told them." He says, "You have to just be standing here in our kitchen to even realize what's happening."
And also, why are we surprised?
Right.
Really? Because this is how life works.
It just makes sense.
It does make sense. It's like when we reach out to the divine will reach back and say, here you are.
Oh,
And we get too kind of stuck, or I sometimes, of course, get stuck in this idea that I can't take seeming risks, or I can't kind of step up to that and do what is necessary.
the
Have
bigger
enough
risk,
faith. The bigger the risk, the bigger the outcome. The bigger the greater the gift.
yes, thank you for
Yes,
that. The bigger the risk, the greater the gift. I'm
greater the
writing, write
gift.
that one down. That
I'm going to
one's,
write that one down.
the
I
bigger
love
the
it.
risk, the greater the gift. And I don't know if you've ever written with a Mont Blanc pen on Mont
Oh,
Blanc paper, but as
I'll
a
borrow
writer, Laura,
yours when I come over.
yes. Or no, why don't you just put that in your reality?
Oh yeah, you're right. Why do I want I want my own one.
You want your own.
Yeah.
I want everyone to have this experience because it's so exquisite. Like, as a writer, as someone who needed to get her story out, when I journal in the morning with that Mont Blanc pen and that Mont Blanc paper, I even spent the $285 or whatever it was for the journal. I'm like, I've never done this before, so let's just do it, right? The
Yeah.
bigger the risk, the
The
better the gift. Yep.
Yes.
The greatest the gift. And boy, that's so exquisite.
Wow. Tisha, thank you so much for coming on today. You've completely sparked my day. Although it's evening, no, it's like late afternoon here, but I'm kind of like, okay, now what?
Get over here, buy the ticket to California. Don't worry about getting home. Just buy the ticket and
Yeah.
come see me, right?
Oh, you're an angel. You
Oh,
really are. And the work that you're doing in the world for families and for anybody that you see, your clients, and for, showing up and inspiring me and being in the magazine. Thank you for being in the magazine.
oh,
It's
that
great.
magazine is so beautiful. You're doing amazing things to showcase these women. I'm actually addicted to it. I'm like, okay, when's the next one coming out? Because to see these women thriving through everything and just showing up for themselves and their family, it's just like, what gives me inspiration? I can elicit the inspiration of where I come from to where I'm going, but to
Right.
really read these stories of these divine CEOs that are just like grit and beautiful and sexy and just doing it, just shows me what's possible for the future and what I can create. So thank you for
Yes.
showcasing everyone. I mean, without
Mm.
your medicine, this wouldn't be able to be showcased for us to continue to have inspiration to grow. So I honor you. I see you. I see you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
Mm.
Tisha. I really appreciate that. I too, I listen to the divine and I'm like, I'm surrendering. Okay, this is what you're saying. This is what is coming through me. I'm doing it.
Oh,
Yeah. And I think the main thing is we enjoy what we're doing. We're fulfilled from what we're doing. And we feel that what we're doing is worthwhile for ourselves, for others. Then it's like, that's a lot of people think that success means money. And success is about feeling it's a feeling, isn't it? That's that
oh,
frequency that you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
And abundance is having what you need when you need it at that moment.
Yes,
Right. So
exactly.
I'm like,
Being
can I buy
provided.
myself a cup of coffee? Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
abundant. Right. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Do I
great.
have food in the cupboard? Do I, yeah. Do I
Yeah.
have a safe, warm home? Yeah.
Yeah. All of that. Oh, Laura,
Beautiful.
this has been so
Oh,
divine. So
thank
divine.
you. Your website is here, Life Coach Cain. We didn't even talk about your book, but I'm going to just mention it here. Radical Freedom. It's there anyway, next to you. It's been next to you all the time.
Yeah. Thank
So
you.
for anyone that wants to know more, if you're watching here or if you're watching it in a future date or listening on the podcast with Tisha, Tisha Marie Cain, and your book, Tisha, is Radical Freedom. And it's about all of this. It's your story and more, I'm sure. So people can find it on Amazon or on your website, Life Coach Cain. There we go, lifecoachcain.com.
Yeah.
One last message before we go from you.
Yeah. If you're really wanting to get rid of the stories that you've been talking about, if you're really looking to have radical transformation in your life, if you're tired of the stories you've been telling yourself and you just need to have a way out, get a coach. And I'm not necessarily saying me, but I am an international life coach. I do make change. I'd like you to come and see me because I can pour into you, carve back everything that you need for your success. I give you a roadmap for success. Let's do this. I'm here for you. Life Coach Cain, Tisha Marie Cain. I'm here to alleviate suffering on planet Earth, and that is my mission, and I'm sticking to it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I look forward to you coming back on the show again.
Yes. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Laura.
And thank you, everybody, for being here, for listening, for watching. And we'll be back here next week with the show. And knowing that you have an amazing rest of your day and that it's filled with love and peace. And that also you find that place in your heart to live your best life, live the life that you really, truly desire, and let your dreams fly.
So good. Blessings to you.
Bye for now.
Bye now.